Hello, here I'll discuss the anatomy of internal ear. This is the frontal view of the right ear. The parts are, this is the external ear, this part is the middle ear. See, this is the inner ear or the internal ear, which lies in the petrous part of the temporal bone and contains receptors for hearing and balance. See, this is the anterior aspect of the inner ear, this is the posterior aspect, this is the medial aspect, here this is the lateral aspect. So this lateral part of the inner ear is relates to this medial wall of the tympanic cavity. Then the parts of the inner ear are the outer bony part, here this is called the bony labyrinth. So this is the bony part. Then inside to this bony part there is the membranous part, that is the membranous labyrinth. Okay, so this bony labyrinth here it consists of a series of these bony cavities and is composed of anteriorly, this part is the cochlea, the middle part here this is the vestibule, the posterior part here these are the semicircular canals. Okay, then the length of this bony labyrinth, that is 18 millimeter. Moreover, you can see in this medial wall of the inner ear, there you can see foramen there. This is the internal acoustic meatus. Through the foramen, this vestibular cochlear nerve is entering to this inner ear. It is the 8th cranial nerve. In the inner ear, it divides into here, this is the cochlear branch and this is the vestibular branch. Then this is a closer view of this bony labyrinth. So here, this is the bony labyrinth. Okay, so this is the inner ear. This is the anterior aspect, this is the posterior aspect, this is the anterior, this is posterior. From anterior to posterior, the parts of the bony labyrinth are, this is the cochlea, this part is the vestibule. Here you can see these parts, these are the semicircular canals. Okay, then the bony part, this is the lateral wall. Here this part, this is the medial wall. Okay, this is the lateral surface of this medial wall is there. Okay, here in this middle and the posterior part, this lateral wall is removed. Okay, in some areas it is intact, bony canal can see. Then inside this bony labyrinth, you can see this is the membranous part. This bluish structures, this is the membranous part, which consists of ducts and its dilations. So the duct, you can see inside this cochlea, this is the cochlear duct. Here these dilations here inside this vestibule here, this is the saccule and the utricle. Here these are the semicircular ducts which lies inside this semicircular canals. So the cross section of this inner ear, which consists of this outer part, this is the bony labyrinth. In the inner part, this is the membranous labyrinth. This membranous labyrinth here, this is the membranous labyrinth, which consists of this endolymph. So the endolymph, it is a potassium rich fluid. Between this bony labyrinth and membranous labyrinth, it contains perilymph. So this perilymph, it is a sodium rich fluid and it's harder. Here again the parts of this membranous labyrinth. So here the anteriorly, these are the cochlear ducts. Then here this is the saccule and utricle. Here you can see these are the semicircular ducts. Okay. Then the structure of the cochlea, here this is the part of this bony labyrinth. This is the cochlea, anterior part. So it resembles here the shape of the snail. It's like a snail. Then here this cochlea, which twists upon itself around a central portion of bone, that is called the modulus. This is the modulus. So it twists upon itself around a central portion of the bone, that is called the modulus. If you take a section through the cochlea like this and view it from anteriorly, this is the view from anteriorly, you can see some features there. Okay, we'll discuss in detail. So the central bony portion, that is called the modulus. Okay, so the shape of the modulus here, it is like this. It is cylindrical here. It has an apex which points laterally. So this is the apex towards laterally. This is the base, that is towards medially. This is the base towards medially. Here base is relates to here. One nerve is there. This is the cochlear nerve. So here the cochlear nerve is entering through this internal acoustic meatus. So this is the internal acoustic meatus. Then through this cochlear nerve is entering to this bony cavity through some foramens in this base. These are the foramens here. Through this foramens, it is entering to this bony cavity. You can see here its cochlear branches there. Then this is the surface of this modulus. Okay, here back to this. So this is the modulus here. This is apex. So the surface of the modulus shows some spinal projections. These are called the spiral lamina. You can see these are the spiral lamina here. The spiral lamina is encircled by here the canal that is called the cochlear canal. Here we'll get the cochlear canal. So here you can see this is the cochlear canal, okay, which encircles the spiral lamina. The length of the cochlear canal is 35 millimeter here. Then the spiral lamina here, it divides into an upper lip and lower lip. Here the spiral lamina is divided into an upper lip and lower lip. The upper lip is called the vestibular lip. The lower lip here, that is called the tympanic lip. The vestibular lip gives attachment for this vestibular membrane. The lower lip, tympanic lip, gives attachment for this basilar membrane. So with the help of these two membranes, the cochlear canal is divided into an upper part that is called the scala vestibule. The lower part here, that is called the scala tympani, and the middle part here, that is called the scala media. Okay, here you can see here these are the spinal projections, that is the spiral lamina. From there the vestibular membrane, basilar membrane comes through this vestibular lip and the tympanic lip respectively. So this is the cochlear canal. So this upper part here, this is called the scala vestibule. The lower compartment of the vestibular canal, that is called the scala tympani. Then the middle compartment of here cochlear canal, that is called the scala media. So this scala vestibule and the scala tympani consists of this perilymph, and scala media consists of contains endolymph. Then here this is the structure of this cochlea. Okay, this the lateral wall is removed. Okay, you are seeing this is the medial wall. So here the inner of this bony labyrinth. See, this is the spiral lamina. This part is the scala vestibule. Here, this part here, this is the scala tympani. Then, see here, this is the apex of this cochlea, where the scala vestibule and scala tympani are continuous. Okay, through an opening there. This is called the helicotrema. Posteriorly, the scala vestibule is released to the oval window. The scala tympani is released to this round window of this middle ear. Then here again, that is the structure of this cochlea. This is the upper part here. One turn of the cochlea, this one here. This upper part, this is the scala vestibule. The lower part here, the scala tympani, which consists of this perilymph. In the apex, these two parts are continuous. The middle part here, this is the scala media, which consists of this endolymph. See, the posteriorly, the scala vestibule is released to the oval window where the foot plate of the stapes is attached. The scala tympani is posteriorly here is released to this round window where the secondary tympanic membrane is attached. Then here comes the structure of this scala media. Here, that is the middle part of this cochlear canal is also called the cochlear duct, scala media. You can see here, this is the cochlear canal. See here, this is the cochlear canal. Then this is the enlarged view of this cochlear canal. Okay, here it has here, this is the spinal lamina here. This is the spinal projections are called the spiral lamina. Here we'll get the, this is the vestibular membrane through the vestibular lip. Here we'll get the tympanic lip, there the attachment of this basilar membrane. So this part of this cochlear canal above this vestibular membrane, that is the scala vestibule. The part of the cochlear canal below this basilar membrane, that is the scala tympani. Then in between this vestibular membrane and the basilar membrane, there is the scala media of this cochlear canal. There you can see this is the organ of Corti there. This is the organ of hearing. Coming to the structure of this organ of Corti, this is the organ of Corti. This is towards laterally, here this is towards medially. So here, this is the basal membrane where the cells of this organ of Corti are attached. There you can see this is the outer hair cells. This is the inner hair cells with the stereocilia are there. Then these hair cells are supported by here. These are the supporting cells. These are the stereocilia. It's superficially here, the stereocilia here, it's covered by this tectorial membrane. This tectorial membrane here, this is acellular fibrillated gelatinous structure, okay, which covers this stereocilia of this hair cells. Then you can see this is the afferent fibers of the cochlear nerve ends in relates to this hair cells or the inner and this outer hair cells. This is the enlarged view of this organ of Corti here. So this is the spiral lamina. It has two lips. So this is the Scala Media, this compartment. This is the upper lateral wall. Here this is the racemous membrane of the vestibular membrane. Here we'll get the basilar membrane where you can see the inner hair cells, the outer hair cells, these supporting cells are there. The upper lateral, there you can see numerous squamous cells are there which secretes the endolymph. So Scala Media contains endolymph. Then here these are the outer hair cells, these are the inner hair cells. In between these you can see the rod cells are there or pillars of Corti there. Then here you can see the supporting cells. These are the Hensen cells and the Dieter cells. These are the supporting cells. Here you can see the fibers. Here you can see the afferent fibers of this cochlear nerve ends in relates to this hair cells. Then upper to that hair cells, you can see this is the tectorial membrane which covers the stereocilia of the hair cells. And also here these hair cells are detecting the sound waves, so it's also called the organ of hearing. Okay. Moreover, these inner hair cells are responsible for this fine discrimination of sound waves. Here you can see this the structure of the vestibule. So vestibule here, this is the middle part of this bony labyrinth. Okay, so it is an ovoid bony cavity. See the ovoid bony cavity. So here this lateral wall of this vestibule here, it relates to this oval window and the round window. So the margins of the oval window gives attachment to this annular ligament. Through the annular ligament, foot plate of the stapes is attached. Okay. Then here this oval window is relates to this medial wall of the middle ear. Then inner to the vestibule here, you can see this is the part of the bony labyrinth is removed, and the lateral wall of this lateral wall of the bony labyrinth is removed, and the membranous labyrinth is also removed. You can see the inner of this bony cavity. There is a median. There is the medial crust is there, that is called the vestibular crust. Okay, here this is the part of the vestibule. Median, there is a crust there. This is called the vestibular crust. Anterior to the vestibular crust, you can see this is the spherical recess. Posterior to the vestibular crust, there is the elliptical recess. Both the spherical recess and elliptical recess, which contains foramens, are there. These foramens are for the passage of this vestibular nerve. So vestibular nerve will be there. Okay, here. Then it enters to this bony cavity. It divides into an upper branch and a lower branch, lower division. The upper division which entering into the foramens through this elliptical recess. The lower division or the lower branch is entering to the bony cavity through the foramens in this spherical recess. Okay. Then below this vestibular crust, there is the cochlear recess. Foramens are for the passing of this cochlear nerve. Then anterior of the vestibule here, it relates to the scala vestibule. Posterior of this vestibule here, you can see the openings of this semicircular canals there. Then below this, behind the vestibular crest and in this elliptical recess, there you can see there is an internal opening of this vestibular aqueduct is there here, which transmits the ductus endolymphaticus, which is the tubular extension of this membranous labyrinth. Here comes the membranous part of this vestibule here. This anteriorly you can see this is the cochlear ducts. Okay, here you can see in the middle there is the saccule and the utricle. Posteriorly you can see these are the semicircular ducts there. Then here this coming to the saccule, here it is a globular membranous sac which lies in the spherical recess. The utricle here, it is an oblong shaped membranous structure which lies in the elliptical recess. Okay, we'll move back to this previous image. Here in the vestibule you can see this is the spherical recess which lodges the saccule. Then here you can see the elliptical recess which lodges the utricle. Here you can see this is the saccule. Here this is the utricle. The saccule is connected to this cochlear duct by means of a ductus reunions. The utricle and this one saccule is connected by a Y-shaped duct. Here this is called the utriculo-saccular duct. Okay, which then continues here. This is the ductus endolymphaticus. Through this opening of this aqueduct of the vestibule, then this ductus endolymphaticus ends as a blind sac that is called the saccus endolymphaticus. Then here this membranous labyrinth consists of this endolymph. So this endolymph gets absorbed by the epithelial cells lining the saccus endolymphaticus. Okay. Then here posterior to this utricle you can see the openings of this semicircular ducts. There are 3 semicircular ducts are there. This is the anterior, this is the posterior and lateral, and 5 openings are there in the posterior of this utricle. Okay. Then here you can see the structure of the semicircular canals. So here this is the posterior part of this bony labyrinth, the semicircular canals. 3 semicircular canals are there. So this is the anterior semicircular canal, posterior and the lateral semicircular canal. The anterior semicircular canal with the convexity is directed upwards. The posterior semicircular canal convexity is directed posteriorly. The lateral semicircular canal here, the convexity is directed posterolaterally. Then dilated part of the semicircular canals here, these are called the ampulla. Okay, these are the ampulla. Then the interior of this semicircular canals, you can see this membranous part. These are called the semicircular ducts there. This is the anterior semicircular duct. This is the posterior semicircular duct. And here you can see this is the lateral semicircular duct. Then here you can see the medial end of this anterior semicircular canal. This is the anterior semicircular canal. Here this is the medial end. Okay, and the upper end of this posterior semicircular canal unite to form here this structure here. This is the crus commune, that is called the crus commune. Okay, then which opens into the medial wall of this vestibule. Then here you can see this is the semicircular canals, this is the semicircular ducts, this is the ampulla of the semicircular canals, these are the ampullary ends of the semicircular ducts. So these are the dilated parts of the semicircular ducts, these are called the ampullary ends. There you can see the crista ampullaris. So this crista ampullaris here, these are the crista ampullaris, which is directed into the interior of the ducts. This crista ampullaris maintains the kinetic equilibrium and the angular acceleration. That means maintains balance during head rotation. So this is the crista ampullaris. Then here In relates to the saccule and the utricle, you can see the macula there. These are the macula. So these macula, these are the specialized sense organs which regulates the static equilibrium and linear acceleration. That means the movement of the head in a straight line. That means here in the forward and the backward movement, in this up and down moments, okay, which maintains the static equilibrium and linear acceleration. This macula of this saccule and this utricle. Okay. Here, then coming to this arterial supply. Here this membranous part here get its arterial supply to the labyrinthine arteries from this anterior inferior cerebellar arteries. It divides into cochlear branch and this vestibular branch. The bony labyrinth get its supply through the anterior tympanic branch of this maxillary artery. Then petrosal branch of this middle meningeal artery. Middle meningeal is also from this maxillary artery. Then there is a stylomastoid branch from this posterior auricular artery. Then is venous drainage, that is to this labyrinthine veins. Along with the arteries, vein is there. Venous blood through this labyrinthine veins. Then here the nerve supply here. The nerve supply that is through this vestibulocochlear nerve. You can see here this is the internal acoustic meatus. Through this the vestibular nerve is entering to the inner ear, divides into a cochlear branch, and this is the vestibular branch. So this vestibular nerve which responds to this one, which is responsible for the balance, and the cochlear branch is responsible for the hearing. Okay, so that's about this inner ear. Here, so the parts of the inner ear are the bony labyrinth and the membranous labyrinth. From anterior to posteriorly, the bony labyrinth consists of the cochlea, middle portion, that is the vestibule. Posteriorly there is the semicircular canals. Then inside the bony part there is the membranous part called the membranous labyrinth, which includes the cochlear ducts, saccule and the utricle. Then there is the semicircular ducts. Okay. Then the membranous labyrinth contains this endolymph. The part between the bony labyrinth and this membranous labyrinth contains this perilymph. So the mechanical signals from this middle ear, which gets converted into electrical signals, which can transform information to the auditory pathway to the brain, which allows the brain to hear and understand sounds. Okay, that is a function of this inner ear. Hope you understood. Thank you.